Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting yet another reading vlog for you guys, and this time we're going to be doing a little bit of a weekend reading vlog. So it is currently Thursday morning. This is the start of my weekend, so I'm going to probably film this vlog for 4 or 5 days. I don't have too many reading plans, but I do have, well actually I do have like 3 books that I want to like start slash continue slash finish. So maybe I do have a lot of reading plans. I don't know. Anyway, I do have a lot of free time this weekend, so hopefully I will be able to get through them. And then I also do have some just like fun things that I want to do this weekend as well. So just a lot of stuff that I really wanted to share with you guys. So here we are. Anyway, let me first talk about the TBR that I have for the video. I have 2 books that I really would like to finish, and then 1 that I really want to start. So the first book is a book that I am currently in the middle of, and that is Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in Era 2 of Mistborn, and I started this in my last video where I was reading 200 pages a day for a week, and I told you guys that I was gonna restart it because I wasn't fully into it, and I did restart it. And I would definitely say I'm like enjoying it a lot more than I was previously, just because I now know what's going on and it makes a lot more sense. But I will give you guys a more kind of sizable update on this a little bit later. I also do plan on finishing this book up via audio because I did recently acquire a new puzzle. So I figured what a better way to kind of finish this book up and do like a cozy activity than to bust out the puzzle and audiobook combo. So I'll probably get into that a little bit later today because I really want to start that puzzle. It's 1,000 pieces. It's been a while since I've done a 1,000 piece puzzle. Normally I stick to a nice 500 piece, but sometimes I just need a little bit of a challenge, you know? And then the other book, which I'm hoping to read in its entirety this weekend, is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. My original plan was to read this in my last video, but I never got around to it, but I've been so excited about getting into this book that it's finally time that I sit down, dedicate a little weekend to reading it. Hopefully I love it. It seems like a book that I'm going to love because I think it's kind of historical fantasy. It's been compared a lot to The Starless Sea, which is one of my favorite books of all time now. So I've been so highly anticipating picking this up, and I figured it is finally time to do so. And then the other book is just a book that I really need to start because me and Elaine are buddy reading this book. And I didn't finish our last buddy read because we were going to be buddy reading House of Flame and Shadow together. I made it 200 pages into that book and I just couldn't do it anymore. I really couldn't. So I really need to make up for it, but like making some progress on this buddy read. And we are going to be reading The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is a book that I've been meaning to pick up for so long. I read Serpent in the Wings of Night and the novella Six Scorched Roses last year. Really enjoyed the novella. I liked Serpent in the Wings of Night. It wasn't my favorite, but I am really excited to see how the events at the end of the first book are going to impact our characters in this book. I didn't love what happened at the end of Serpent, so I'm a little bit dubious going into this one. But I think I'm still excited nonetheless. It's been a minute since I've picked up like some fantasy romance, you know, and I think I'm kind of ready for like a little bit of that. But I do not plan on finishing this book this weekend because I'm not insane, because this book is 600 pages. It's very chunky, but I think our goal from mid-April is to make it to page 300, so I'm really only trying to at least just get a start on it. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to page 300 in this video or not, but I just need to start it. So here is my TBR for the weekend. I think it seems doable. Like I feel like I'll have enough time to do this and it'll all be good. So I hope you guys are excited for the TBR that I have for this weekend. I certainly am. As for some of the things that I would like to do, later today, I'm going to be getting into my puzzle. I'm really excited. I picked it up from half price yesterday, and I'm a little bit, like, I don't know how I feel about buying a used puzzle, just because, like, are the pieces gonna be there? I have no idea. We're gonna go on this journey together, and we're gonna find out if all the pieces are there, but it was so beautiful, I couldn't pass it up. So we'll just see, you know? And then I do also want to go do some book shopping probably tomorrow. There is a new release that I have my eye on that I would really like to pick up because I want to read it next week. So I'm gonna go get that, do some browsing, but I'm going to, as I said, probably go do that tomorrow morning. And then the rest of the weekend should be pretty chill. I have some journaling pages that I would like to do. I have a lot of books that I would like to read, obviously. So I'm gonna stop yammering on and we are going to get into it. I think the first thing that I'm gonna do is start the 10,000 Doors of January, kind of get into it, crack it open, see what's up. I will talk to you guys a bit later with a bit of an update. I do indeed have an update for you guys on the 10,000 Doors of January, which I will get into in a moment. But first, I do want to show you guys the library holds that I went and picked up earlier today because quite a few of them came in and I'm very excited about these. So obviously I want to share them. The first one that I have here is Skyward Flight. This is a series of 3 novellas, I believe, that take place in the Skyward series. I've read the first 2 books in that series, and I believe you kind of should read these before you get into Cytonic, and I really want to kind of wrap up the Skyward series this year, hopefully. But honestly, I was not expecting these novellas to be so long because this is a 600-page book. And I know like 200 pages is kind of a normal-ish length for a novella, but I feel like it's a little on the long side. But I'm still excited to get into these nonetheless because the second book in the Skyward series focuses on a solo mission that like Spence is going on. And I believe the third one also focuses on a solo mission that Spence is going on. So this kind of allows you to see the other characters. And I really enjoyed the first book in that series because of the camaraderie between all of the people that were training to be pilots, so I'm hoping to get a little bit of that from this book, maybe. And then I also picked up The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. If you guys do not know, we are reading the Daevabad trilogy for Wyverns and Words starting in May, so I decided to go ahead and pick this up now. Maybe it's a little bit early. I might have jumped the gun a bit on placing this library hold, but maybe I'll just renew it. We'll see, but I just wanted to have it so that whenever I'm ready to jump into it, I can. And then the next thing is probably the thing that I'm the most excited about because so many of you guys have told me to get into this manga series, and like, I hear you. I read your comments, I know I need to. So I decided to pick up volume 1 of Witch Hat Atelier? I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm sorry. But I think a couple of years ago, I checked out the first and second volumes of this manga series because it seemed like something I would really like, but I just never got around to actually picking them up. But because so many of you guys have recommended this to me recently, I figured I should go ahead and pick it up again and actually read it this time because it honestly looks delightful. Yeah, I'm really excited about this, and this is going to be perfect for the 24-hour readathon that I'm going to be filming next week because Cass is coming to visit me. We're going to film a 24-hour readathon together in person, and I'm so excited. And I figured this would be the perfect thing to throw onto that TBR. So you will see me reading this very, very soon. And then the last thing that I picked up is something I'm really excited about because recently I have started reading Discworld by Terry Pratchett. And by started reading Discworld, I mean I'm like 76 pages into Equal Rights. This is the one that I decided to start with. I know there are like a million ways that you could start Discworld, but this is just the one that seemed to interest me the most. But I've been really intrigued by Discworld for a really long time because a lot of my favorite fantasy-centered booktubers love and rave about Discworld. They always praise it for being very fun and funny, but it also has a lot of good commentary and it's kind of very satirical as well. And it's all just sounded very interesting to me, and it has seemed like something I would like, but it is a 40-book series. It's like made up a little sub-series, but it's 40 books total, which is a lot. But I decided to finally jump into it. So I picked this one up. And then I'm probably going to kind of continue on with the Witches series that is in Discworld, so I picked up Weird Sisters, which I'm super excited about because so far I'm really liking Equal Rights. It just seems like a series that's gonna be so much fun to kind of read over the next couple of years. And I can't wait. So I wanted to talk about that as well. Those are all of the books that I've picked up from the library. But now let me give you guys my update on the 10,000 Doors of January, because I have made it to page 51. So I just finished like the first 2 chapters, I believe. And I think I'm really gonna like it. I'm not sure yet. I wouldn't say I'm like 100% drawn into it quite yet, but I think as the story progresses, I am going to really, really enjoy this. Basically, so far in this book, we have been following our main character, January, and we've kind of seen her from the ages of like 6 to 17. We've been slowly getting kind of vignettes of her life throughout these first couple of chapters and kind of seeing what her childhood was like, kind of the adversity that she's been dealing with as a person of color in the early 1900s. And we're also kind of seeing the magical things that have been happening in her life. And I love where that's going so far, because the very first kind of magical interaction that she has is she runs into this random door that's just in the middle of this field, I believe. And at first she opens the door and nothing happens. But she steps back for a second and she starts writing this little story about the door in this notebook that she carries around with her. And then when she opens the door after that, she sees that she's on this cliff surrounded by the sea. There's this like shining city down below. But that whole scene ends really quickly because her guardian comes back and is like yelling at her because she ran off. But obviously, like, what's going on? Why can she do this? What's that about? And I'm just really excited to see where this is going to go, because so far the concept of her being able to write something down in a book and then watching that come true is so fascinating. We've kind of seen it come to fruition in a couple of other ways as she has gotten a bit older, and I've really enjoyed those as well. So all of that is giving me the vibe that I'm really gonna like this book. Also, I love Alex E. Harrow's writing style so much. I read Starling House by her last October, I believe. The whole vibe of that story is very like gritty, spooky, gothic, that kind of thing. But this story being historical fantasy and the magic that is kind of present in this world having a bit more of a whimsical quality, I think really allows her prose to shine, because the way that she writes is so atmospheric and it does feel very whimsical so far. And I feel like the more that I'm talking about this, the more that I am convinced that I am really liking this book so far. I just think we're kind of still in like the setup portion of the book. We've been following January through her kind of younger years, but I'm getting the feeling that the rest of this book is going to take place when she's a little bit older. So I'm quite excited to get into that, because I think that's when I'm really going to absolutely fall in love with this book, hopefully. But I'm just not quite sure yet, and I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm gonna keep my expectations low, but it's looking good. That is kind of all I have to say about the 10,000 Doors of January so far. So I'm actually going to take a break on this for a while because I want to go do my puzzle and listen to my audiobook for Shadows of Self. Yeah, but I will give you guys a better update on this tomorrow, just because I feel like this update is probably long enough. But I'm going to go listen to my audiobook for this. Hopefully I'm gonna listen to a lot of this because I'm in a mood to do my puzzles. So I'm gonna go do that, and I will talk to you guys probably tomorrow with an update on this, and hopefully an update on this as well. Good morning, everybody. It is now the next day. I do have kind of just one update for you guys right now. I have really yet to read any more of the 10,000 Doors of January. I think I've read like 20 more pages, so I don't really have an update in that regard. But I did read quite a bit of Shadows of Self yesterday via audiobook while I was doing my puzzle Also, that puzzle is going to take me an absolute eternity to do. And I'm not mad about that because I always have an audiobook I could listen to, but I really don't think I'm gonna finish it this weekend. Like, I was kind of, for whatever reason, thinking I could. But to give you guys my update on Shadows of Self, I'm currently on page 268. I definitely feel the same way towards this as I felt towards the Alloy of Law, as in, like, it's fun. It's kind of a good time. I enjoy the characters generally, but nothing about this series is going to be a favorite, which is what I went into this series expecting. So I'm not like mad about that, but I do have a good time listening to the audiobooks, and I'm really excited to pick up the next one because I've heard a couple of people say it kind of gives Indiana Jones vibes, which sounds like it could be really fun. Also, another thing that I do want to say about the series up until this point is that I was kind of very wrong in my assumption of what this was, because I thought it was like Wild West vibes, but it is certainly not Wild West vibes. I think the couple of snippets that we get of Wax and Wayne's kind of adventures before the events of this series, those are Wild West vibes. But like, for the most part, this is like urban fantasy, but they have guns. So that's kind of my bad for just assuming that's what this series was. So I wanted to let you guys know in case I was also putting you off a bit, but it really just reads like kind of the first series, but with more advanced technology, really. Something that I'm really liking about this series, though, is the fact that this world is really going through an industrial revolution. There's a lot of new technology available and on the market, and seeing the impact that that is having on society and the general unrest that that is causing, I've found to be really interesting, and I feel like that's going to kind of continue to rear its ugly head as we progress through the series. There are also so many callbacks to the original trilogy in this series as well, and I'm liking those a lot too, just to kind of see how the world was impacted due to the events at the end of The Hero of Ages has been really fun. Also, another thing, I feel like I just have so many like individual things that I want to talk about, so I'm sorry. But in this book, after every few chapters or so, you get a like picture of a broadsheet. Is that what these are called? But they look like this, and basically they're just there to show you the kind of goings on of the city at that point in time, and I really enjoy reading these. I think they're so fun. There's been this recurring like story that I think has been put in this broadsheet called The Sinister Soiree, which I think is just such a fun title. And then also at the bottom of this one, they're advertising an opera called A Hero for All Ages. And I was like, that's so fun. I love that. So I've really been enjoying those as well. And the last thing that I do want to quickly touch on is the fact that I am really starting to appreciate Steris as a character. Steris is the woman that Wax is currently like engaged to be married to. You find that out in like the very beginning of the first book, so that's not like spoilery or anything. It's very much a marriage of convenience, mainly for political reasons. And I didn't really think much of her in the first book just because you don't really get a lot of her in the first book. You're mainly focusing on getting to know Marasi, who is our other like female main character who I also really love, but we're getting a lot more like interactions between Wax and Steris, and I just really am starting to love her as a character. You see how conniving and smart she is in the way she interacts in society, and I've just been really enjoying getting to see more of her. I feel like the series does have really solid characters. They're not like my favorite characters, but I really like Wax and Wayne. I really like Marasi, and I'm also starting to really enjoy Steris, and I'm hoping we get more of her throughout the series because I would love to know some more about her. So the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm realizing I just have a lot of positive things to say about this book. I'm having a good time. So I definitely plan on probably finishing this up today, thinking I'm going to work on my puzzle some more while I finish off the audiobook. I think I have, let's see, about 100 pages left. And then hopefully I will also be doing some reading of the 10,000 Doors of January as well, because I'd really like to do that. So currently it is about 10, and I do plan on going to do my book shopping later, which I'm quite excited about. But before that, I do want to do a bit of updating in my journal. I don't know if I've shown you guys this yet, but I've been doing this thing where I make Pinterest boards for my favorite book of every month. I sectioned out 6 pages in my journal so I could have them all like back to back, and I'm really excited to see how that's gonna look at the end of the year. But like, these are what I did for my favorites of January and February. They are out of order. That was obviously an accident, so don't mind that. But like, this is generally the idea of what I'm doing, because I made one spread last year that was like the Starless Sea as a Pinterest board, and I enjoyed making that spread so much. So I figured, why not just do that for my favorite books of every month? Obviously I need to do my one for March, which my favorite book from March was A Grave Robbery. Love it so much. I'm definitely going for like a dark Victorian mystery Frankenstein cemetery kind of vibe with the pictures that I've chosen. So I thought I would show you guys that, and then I will get back to you guys with an update of some sort before I go book shopping. To just tell you guys that I did finish my journaling. I really need to work out the spacing on these spreads a bit better because I feel like it looks a bit funky. But I do generally just really like how it turned out because the vibe and aesthetic of A Grave Robbery is just beautiful. But that's all I have to say in this update. I'm really just here to tell you that it is time to go book shopping. So I will see you guys at Barnes, and then I will probably like chat to you again tomorrow morning because I really just want to focus this afternoon on making some good progress on Shadows of Self and the 10,000 Doors of January. Next day. I do indeed have a reading update for you because I did finish Shadows of Self yesterday, which we're gonna talk about in a moment. But first, I did want to give you guys my mini book haul because I did go to Barnes & Noble yesterday and I did pick up the reappearance of Rachel Price. I am so excited about this. I have loved every other one of Holly Jackson's books, so I have been so hyped for this one, and I'm so glad that I now have a copy of it in my hands. Also, this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It apparently has special content inside that I'm honestly probably not gonna read. For the most part, I only ever pick up Barnes & Noble exclusive books if they have like fun cosmetic changes, which this one did, which is the main reason why I really wanted it. Because first of all, it has this really cool end paper art. I have no idea what any of this means, but we're gonna find out, I suppose. And then it also has this camcorder on the front in like red foiling with a broken screen. So I'm excited to figure out what that's all about. I literally have no clue what this book is about, to be honest. I have yet to look up a summary for it, and I don't want to know. But I'm really excited to jump in and just, you know, find out for myself. Me and Cass, as I mentioned earlier in this video, we are going to be doing a 24-hour readathon together in a couple of days. Damn, it's a couple of days from now. That's so soon. But I figured this would be the perfect book for a 24-hour readathon, so there's your little sneak peek at the TBR. I'm gonna read this one, and I can't wait. But then yesterday, I also got a Pengo book order, in the mail, which I'm so excited about. I was 100% influenced by like all of the other people that I've seen reading this book recently. I'm just too curious to not read it, and I have read from this author before and I really liked the book that I read, so I figured I should give this one a try. Also, it's beautiful. And that is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I read The Bridge Kingdom a couple of years ago and I loved it. It was so good. So I've been really excited about picking this one up just because I've seen some really good reviews. I've also seen some not great reviews, but I decided I wanted to give it a try. And also, I found one with the beautiful blue sprayed edges. Look at this. They're gorgeous. And I'm pretty sure this book has literally never been opened. Also, right after I bought this book on Pango, the girl that I bought this from messaged me and she said she was a big fan of my channel. So I thought that was so fun. So Amy, if you're watching this, hey, thanks for the book, but I am so freaking excited about this one and I'm hoping to read this soon. Maybe in May. I'm thinking May. That sounds fun. But this is like a Norse-inspired fantasy romance kind of situation. So it should be a good time. So there is my book haul. Super excited about both of these and I'm really hoping I can read them soon. I'm trying to be better about buying books this year and like reading the books quickly after I buy them so they don't just sit in my TBR for like years to come. So you will see me reading these soon. If not, yell at me or something, I don't know. But we also do need to take a moment to talk about Shadows of Self because I finished this book yesterday. Also did quite a decent bit more of my puzzle, which is going well. Still not gonna finish it anytime soon, but I think I've got, you know, some good progress done on it. But this book, the ending of this book shook me to my core, frankly. I did not see the twist at the end of this book coming whatsoever, but when I learned what I now have learned, I'm traumatized, frankly. But honestly, the ending of this book in general was really good. I feel like Brandon Sanderson, he always has just really explosive endings. They're always so exciting, they're always so shocking, they're always so engaging. So I was listening to this and I was having the time of my life, frankly. Honestly, I think I like this one more than I like The Alloy of Law just because I feel like it was a bit more exciting, it was a bit more punchy, and I'm so incredibly excited to jump into the Bands of Mourning now just because I want to see the fallout of everything that we learned at the end of this book. So I'm contemplating also putting that on my 24-hour readathon TBR. There's a little sneak peek at the TBR. I'm gonna be reading Reappearance of Rachel Price, probably Bands of Mourning, Witch Hat Atelier, and there's another like short book that I'm gonna pick up. You'll see it. But I just wanted to come on and tell you that I really enjoyed this book. It was so good. Which honestly really shocked me because I never really expected to like Era 2 this much, but I'm having a good time. So that's kind of my only update on this for the time being. It is currently like 10 o'clock. I did not read any of the 10,000 Doors of January yesterday, so I might pick that one up, or I'm really tempted to pick up, if I could grab it, The Ashes and The Star-Cursed King. I'm not sure. I need to make progress in both of them, so mayhaps I'll get into this one. What I do know is that you will see which book I decide to pick up in a few seconds because I'm gonna go and I will talk to you guys later with an update on whichever one of these books I end up picking up. I thought it might be interesting to do a bit of an update outside for once, because I don't come outside enough. But I wanted to come out here and give you guys an update on the 10,000 Doors of January because it's getting so good, honestly. I must admit, for the first 50 pages, I was like kind of sold on it, but I wasn't sure. And then there's this part after the first couple of chapters where it switches to this like research paper almost. And at first I was like, I hate it. I hate it so much. What's going on? Because the very first sentence of that chapter starts with, "The following monograph concerns the permutations of a repeated motif in world mythologies." And I was like, why are we using so many big words? Like, I get what it's trying to say, but like my brain was not prepared to switch from like the writing of the first couple of chapters to like an actual research style paper. But then I kind of realized exactly what it was, and then I was like, okay, I'm absolutely sold. I love this concept so much. And also, it shows me exactly why people compare this book to The Starless Sea, because I'm also about to compare this book to The Starless Sea. It is so fascinating to me that this book and The Starless Sea were only released like a couple of months apart, because there are so many concepts in these books that overlap. And it's just so odd. Like, there's no way one of these could be inspired by the other because they were released so closely together. But I was shocked. I was like, this is so cool, honestly, though. Because obviously, I absolutely loved The Starless Sea. Favorite book of last year, favorite book of all time. So the fact that this book is like using similar concepts, I'm very much into that. But as for the structure of this book, there is a book that January finds in her own kind of world, timeline, whatever you want to call it, that you are then getting in those like insert chapters that I was first really not into. But as you get further into those chapters that initially kind of felt very research papery, they do eventually turn into like a more traditional story, and you're following two characters from two different worlds that are having their own interactions with like magical doors and whatnot that you kind of see January starting to encounter. And I really enjoy how their stories have overlapped, and I love the concept of like, I don't know if it's necessarily time-crossed lovers in this scenario, but like people from alternate places, times, worlds, whatever, trying to find their way back to each other is a concept that I love deeply. So the fact that this was kind of in there, I really enjoyed. And I think I like those chapters more than I'm liking January's chapters. Not that I'm not enjoying them, but like at the present moment, I find them to be a bit more compelling. But where I'm at in the book now, I literally never even told you where I was. I'm on page 177, so I'm like halfway through the book. I definitely think I'm gonna be able to finish this today just because I'm so intrigued by what's happening now that I need to know what's gonna happen next. But at this point in the book, I feel like we've kind of come to the conclusion of those kind of insert chapters, and we're gonna start focusing more on January because she's going through it, man. I feel so bad for her right now. It's a oh, she's in such a bad situation. But there's been this piece of information that we learned. Sorry, it was so out of the blue. Obviously, I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but like, when they introduced this concept, I was like, she's not going there, is she? I don't know, just something about it was just so completely out of left field, so out of the blue. I was not expecting it in the slightest. And now I'm very intrigued to see what the rest of this book is gonna be like. Ooh. I don't know if that was a wasp or a bee. I'm on alert now. But aside from that, I'm just really hoping things start to look up for January soon, and I'm definitely so engaged in the story at this point that I need to see how everything is going to conclude and how things are going to kind of come together moving forwards, because we've already seen a bit of how everything that we're getting in this book is kind of intertwined, but I feel like there's gonna be some more. I'm hooked. I have to know what's gonna happen next, so I'm going to do a bit of reading outside, obviously, and I will give you guys an update later, potentially when I finish the book, unless I have something else kind of useful that I want to say before then. But I feel like I will probably just catch up with you guys tomorrow with my final thoughts on this book. Looks good now, but it's very cloudy today, so this could all be gone in like 3 seconds, but hello. It is a couple days later, and I do have quite a few updates for you guys because I have a lot of books to talk about, okay? But I did want to show you guys what I got up to a bit yesterday because I went through my shelves and I picked some books that I wanted to unhaul, and I'm going to be listing these on my Pingo, so if any of you guys want them, I'm unhauling these. for like various reasons. Some of them I just in love, some of them I just don't need copies of anymore. So if you want some of these books, my Pango's linked down below. Also, very exciting news. I am now a Pango Books ambassador, which is great because I absolutely love and adore Pango. I use it all the time. So I highly recommend it to like everybody. So you guys should check it out if you want to. I do have a code with them, which is Katie is reading in all caps. You can get $5 off your first purchase of $20 or more. But that is an affiliate link. I believe I get maybe $1 every time anybody uses it. So if you guys should want to, you could use that. I will have all the stuff linked down below, but you don't have to. But if you want to, it's there. That's that. Anyway, I have a lot of reading updates that I need to give you guys, so let me get into those now. So the first thing that I want to tell you is that I did finish the 10,000 Doors of January, and I ended up really enjoying this one. After the first like 50 or so pages, I just wasn't sure if this was something that I was going to absolutely love, but I did end up really enjoying my time reading it, and I'm glad that I finally got around to it. Reading this has definitely cemented Alix E. Harrow as an author that I will be on the lookout for now. I know she has at least one other book that I'm aware of that I will be picking up. I think it's something about witches. I'll probably pick it up like in the fall. That seems thematically appropriate. But I believe she also has some short stories that I would like to check out. But this book just ended up being such a lovely read. I really enjoyed how this book ended. I loved the magic overall that was at use in this world, and I just really enjoyed the characters. Also, I absolutely fell in love with Alix E. Harrow's writing style. I like that it is very flowery, it's very borderline purple prose, but I think it has more of a blunt edge to it, and it feels very uniquely Alix E. Harrow, which I love that so much, when authors have like a very distinct writing style. So I really enjoyed that as well. I also just love the general topics and themes and commentary that this book provided, and it was just a really good read. So I think, and I am going to talk about the Starless Sea again, I know I'm not trying to compare them because they do feel very much like their own singular things, but I think the similarities are too glaring to ignore, you know what I'm saying? So I would say if you didn't like the Starless Sea for the more like meandering plot structure that it has, but you still enjoyed the general atmosphere and vibe of that story, I would recommend you pick this one up because it has very similar kind of story elements to it, but it has a more structured plot, and I think it makes sense, and it's a lot less confusing than the Starless Sea. So there's your recommendation for the day. But also, if you like the Starless Sea, I would also recommend you guys pick this one up because it is just a really good book on its own. There are my thoughts on the 10,000 Doors of January. I'm just really glad that I finally got around to reading it. And then I also did start a book yesterday, which is a book that I know I said I was going to save for my 24-hour readathon, and I'm still going to be reading most of that book in my 24-hour readathon, but I really wanted to start this one yesterday. And that is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson, which is obviously the next book in the Mistborn era too, whatever. You know, we already talked about this. But honestly, I'm just having such a good time reading Era 2, which shocks me greatly, because I just never really expected Era 2 to be something that I would truly enjoy that much. But I knew I wanted to read it because I wanted to catch all of the Cosmere connections, but the more I read of it, the more I'm just genuinely really liking this series. I think The Alloy of Law, which is the first book in this series, is probably going to be my least favorite, actually. I think it very much feels rather different to Brandon Sanderson's other books. It feels just like, you know, a fun romp that the characters are going on, alright? But I feel like Shadows of Self and The Bands of Mourning get back to being very distinctly Brandon Sanderson feeling, and it has more like plot beats and story elements that I absolutely love from his books. So I'm just so pleasantly surprised that my enjoyment of this series has like skyrocketed, honestly. And I'm super excited about this one. So I've made it to page 95, somewhere around there. I'm on part 2 now, and I can definitely see why people kind of say this book has Indiana Jones vibes, because our characters are now leaving the city that this series has primarily taken place in, and they are going to look for this mythological item. So I'm quite excited to see what our characters are going to be getting up to in this new setting, in this new place, in this new location. There are a lot of interesting things that I cannot wait to see come to fruition, and I'm just having a really good time. I feel like now that I am a little bit into the story and I'm definitely very invested in it, this is going to be a very solid pick for my 24-hour readathon, because I feel like I'm just gonna want to binge the rest of this. So there is The Bands of Mourning. So those are all of like my current reading updates, but I do have the book that I'm going to be starting next, which is obviously The Ashes and the Starcursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I believe I'm going to be picking this up on audio because I think they have it on Everand. I'm gonna work on my puzzle later, which sounds delightful, honestly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get into that. I will give you guys an update sometime later, when I've made a decent chunk of progress in this. Alright, so it's been a couple of days. A lot of things have happened since I last talked to you. Mainly, Cass came to visit me. And that was really fun. So that's like why I haven't been vlogging in the past couple of days, because we filmed our 24-hour readathon together. But that's like literally all we did. And now she's gone, so you guys will see that vlog next week. I'm so excited about it. I haven't started editing it yet, but some of the footage that we got, I cannot wait to like get into it. So get excited for that. But I'm actually here to end this vlog. I wasn't planning on ending this vlog that early, but honestly, I am so tired of reading. I've been doing all this reading for this vlog, and then we just filmed the 24-hour readathon where I finished 4 books. Granted, 2 of them were like graphic novels, manga, whatever you want to call them, but I did finish 2 other books. So I just like want to take a break. So I think I'm gonna call this vlog good for now. I have read some like good books in this vlog, and we do have some stuff to talk about, reading updates, all of that, so I hope that's okay. So first of all, let me show you some book mail that I got the other night that I am very excited about because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I have started reading Discworld. I finished up Equal Rights the other day, and I loved it so much. I will give you guys some more updates on it in my April wrap-up. I wasn't planning on reading it in this vlog, or else I would have like talked about it in this vlog, but I just like picked it up the other day and I completely finished it. But I love that one so much, and now I know I will definitely be continuing Discworld, so I decided to pick up, I don't know if I'm gonna read this one next or if I'm gonna pick up Weird Sisters next, but I decided to buy a copy of Mort, and I love these mass market paperbacks so much. Like, I just love the art style on them. They're so cool. And I really want to collect the rest of the Discworld books that I read in this mass market paperback style. They are a little bit harder to find because I think they were only printed in the UK and they're kind of expensive online. I'll probably end up buying a lot of them at some point. Like, not a lot of them, but like a lot. Like a bundle of them at some point. And I just love the look of vintage fantasy mass market paperbacks, but I haven't really read a lot of like older fantasy. So I'm gonna take this as an opportunity to collect these, but I also just love how they look. But I decided to pick up Mort. This is the first book in kind of a different sub-series in Discworld that is following literally Death. Look at him. Looks so funny. But a lot of people really love this book as well, so I cannot wait to get to this. But I wanted to show you it because I will be reading it hopefully sometime soon. So there's my little book mail. But as for the reading update that I have for you guys, I have read quite a bit of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I am on page, where are we? 196, so I'm almost to the 200-page mark. I think me and Elaine are gonna call and talk about this soon, so I might just finish it on my own time. I don't know. But at any rate, you will also hear my final thoughts on this in my April wrap-up. So I don't love it. I really don't love it. And I'm so sad about that because this is a really long book. But I like it enough to where I am somewhat compelled to finish it, but I just don't love it. There are just so many things in this book that are kind of getting on my nerves. Sometimes it works when you get the point of view of the love interest in fantasy romance books, and sometimes it's fine. But sometimes I just don't want to be in the mind of a man like that. And Rain is just, I didn't really like Rain in the first book, and I think that's probably my main problem with being in his point of view in this book. So like getting to like see the innermost thoughts that he has, I just really dislike it. And he's also always talking about how like, oh, I need to go find something to kill. I need to go find something to murder. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, I know that he's a vampire and like that's kind of what they do, but it's, I just don't, he's always talking about how bloodthirsty he is. I'm like, I get it. Like, dude, I know, okay? Another thing that I'm really disliking about this book is just like, not really the overall writing style, because for the most part, I like Carissa Broadbent's writing style. But some of the dialogue in this book, I just hate. They were having this important conversation because this world is now at war. So they're trying to figure out like where they should go to, I don't know, do war things. I wasn't 100% paying attention, okay? But like at one point they were talking about this one place and Rain describes it as indefensible as fuck. And I was like, what? That sounds so stupid. I just hated it. And I just like, I don't love Rain and Araya, which is also an issue. So I'm not having the best time All right, I'm not having like the worst time. I don't like absolutely hate it, but there are definitely just a couple of things that get on my nerves. The rest of it is fine. I think Araya is an interesting main character to follow. She's not my favorite, but I like her. But I also just don't love the romance. And because this is fantasy romance, that's also an issue. I feel like maybe as the book progresses and they start like not hating each other again, potentially I could like get back into the romance. But right now, I just don't like it. And like some of the things that happened at the end of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I still don't like those. I don't like some of the decisions that our characters were making. I don't like the way that some of our characters were treating other characters. And like seeing the ramifications of that in this book, I thought I might have liked it, but it's just not my favorite. But there are like some cool magic-y vampire things going on, and I have really enjoyed those. I also really love Mish. I think it's Mish. But she is like the ray of sunshine in this series that I need, honestly. She's just such a fun character and I love what she adds. But my favorite part of this book so far has been the inclusion of some of the characters that we were following in Six Scorched Roses. I read Six Scorched Roses back in October. It was so stunning. It was so good. Absolutely 5 out of 5 star. I loved that book so much. Like so much more than the actual books in this series. So like when we got to see some of the characters that were in here, I was like, yeah. And then they left again. I was like, oh, okay, fine. So I'm having like an okay time with Ashes in the Starcursed King. There are 400 more pages for things to develop and change. So maybe I'll really love it by the end. That's what I'm holding out hope for. I'm really excited to talk to Elaine about this book because she, if you guys don't know, Elaine is just like one of my friends that I buddy read books a lot with. But she also kind of felt the same way towards The Serpent and the Wings of Night as I did. So I'm interested to see if she's gonna have the same issues that I will be having with this book. But she also loves Six Scorched Roses. So I think she'll also be loving some of the same things that I am loving about this book. So I just cannot wait to FaceTime her and chat about this. I think I'm just really interested to see what the consensus is. So those are kind of my thoughts on The Ashes in the Starcursed King as of now. Anyway, moving on to talk about the other books that I read in this vlog and to just kind of generally wrap this video up. So I finished 2 books in this video. The first one being Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. I'm loving Era 2. I finished The Bands of Mourning a couple of days ago in my 24-hour readathon vlog. Really loved that one, my favorite in the series, but this one was also really, really good. And I'm so excited about that because I was dreading going into Era 2. Like, not quite to that extent. I feel like that maybe has too much of a negative connotation to it for it to really be applicable. But I wasn't like super excited about reading Era 2. I was just like, oh, gotta finish it so I can finish the Cosmere, whatever. But I'm having such a good time reading Era 2. Like, I think it's so fun. My expectations were just so completely incorrect about this series and like what it was actually going to be like. But this series is so good. Also, I just love Steris so much. Like that, she's my girly now. I love her so much. She's one of my favorite characters in the Cosmere, maybe, which I feel like is a bold claim to make, but it might be. Just like the character work that she has gotten in like this book and especially in The Bands of Mourning, so good. And also I just relate to her in a lot of different ways. But yes, Shadows of Self, so good. Really enjoyed it. And then I also finished The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, and it has definitely made me want to check out a lot of Alex E. Harrow's other work. I don't think she has like too many, but I know she has another book about witches, I believe, and then maybe some short stories that I'd like to read as well, so I'm quite excited to get into those. And that is, I believe, everything that I needed to tell you in this vlog. Also, actually, one more thing. I've made so much progress in my puzzle and I want you guys to be really proud of me. I'm not finished with it yet. I think I've been working on it for about a week now and I'm still not done. But it has made me realize that I love 1,000-piece puzzles. I feel like they just give me the best bang for my buck. Like I only spent $7 on this puzzle and I've gotten at least a week's worth of enjoyment out of it. So I will be on the hunt for more 1,000-piece puzzles. I'm done messing around with these dinky 500-piece puzzles. And I'm just about to get into my 1,000-piece puzzle groove. Okay, I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. If you did, obviously, I would love to know down below, have you read any of these books? Mainly, I really want to know if you guys have read The Ashes in the Starcursed King. What are your thoughts? What's the consensus with you guys? I'd love to know. I'd love to chat about it. But obviously, if you've read either of these 2 books, we can chat about those too. Also, before I go, I would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. If you're ever looking for more content from me, that's always linked down below and you can check it out if you're so inclined. But with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope you're having such an amazing Monday or whatever day it is that you are watching this video, and I will see you all in my next one.